This is part 2 of chapter 8. Why are marine aquatic systems important? So seawater ecosystems provide major ecosystem and economic services. And they are irreplaceable reservoirs of biodiversity. And then, so if we estimate how much value the ocean can give to us, is every year $12 trillion. No human effort is able to do that, right? And then there's 3 major life zones. They have coastal zone, and then open sea, and then ocean bottom. For the coastal zone, that's the most active part, related to human activity too. So they are warm, they have a nutrient-rich, shallow, shore to edge of a continental shelf, and then they usually have a high MPP from ample sunlight and then nutrients. So this slide is important. You should spend some time to look at them, to memorize the ecological service and economic service. And then on this one, when you look at them, just look at them intensely, like you take a picture in your mind. Because when they mention a question about the abyssal zone or the basal zone, there's no light, because this is not a lighted area. There would be no photosynthesis of this kind of idea. So you start with the estuary, and then intertidal zone, coastal zone, open sea, and then the deep sea. We're going to get into it in the following slides. So estuary and coastal wetlands, they are highly productive. So estuaries are where rivers meet the sea, and then coastal wetlands are the coastal land covered with water or a part of the year covered with water. So those 2 areas, seawater mixes with freshwater. They are very productive ecosystems with high nutrient levels from the land, from the fresh water. And the examples. So those are river mouths, inlets, bays, sounds, salt marshes, seagrass beds, and mangrove forests. So the picture you see here is mangrove forests. So a mangrove is one of the many shrubs or small trees that grow in coastal salty water. They are very unique and very beautiful. So for the mangrove forest, this one is a highly productive wetland and provide habitats for some 69 species of trees that can live in salty water. So if you found another species, and then that would be 70, but right now only 69 species of trees that can grow in salt water. However, these mangrove forests are largely damaged by shrimp farming. So they basically just like they destroy the tropical rainforest for agriculture. So they cut away the mangrove forest, and then they use that for aquaculture with fish. So between 1980 to 2000, researchers estimate more than 1/5, more than 20% of the world's mangrove forests were destroyed by human activities. This satellite photo shows a view of an estuary taken from space. You can see the rivers combined and then joined to the ocean. And then this picture shows a coastal marsh. And then even you go to Stonington area, you can see this kind of marsh too. This is a picture of mangrove. Even you go to Florida, you see them too. So now we are looking at different zones of the seawater ocean area. The first one is the intertidal zone. So this area of shores between high and low tides, they can be rocky shores, they can be sandy shores, and then they can be burial island of small sand island. So organisms adaptations necessary to deal with daily salinity change. and then with moisture changes. And then the sand dunes would serve as a barrier island to buffer the storms, the erosions. So this one is a barrier island. And then for this picture, you do not need to particularly memorize which one is where. So, but just remember, for the intertidal zone, you have a rocky shore beach, you have a barrier beach. And then in different environment, you have a different species living there, adapted to their environment. Again, we sort of come back to the core case study about the coral reefs. They are amazing centers of biodiversity. So marine equivalent of a tropical rainforest. Coral reefs are being destroyed and damaged worldwide. And then by one way is ocean acidification. So oceans absorb CO2, and then CO2 reacts with seawater to form a weak acid that release levels of carbonate ions, and then make the water slightly more acidic than normal. And then now we are going to look at the vertical differences in the open ocean. So remember the very top layer is called euphotic, which means real light. And then the middle layer is basal, and then the bottom layer is called abyssal. So euphotic zone, this part can do photosynthesis, but with low MPP, except upwelling areas. That place has high overall MPP. Okay, so in the euphotic zone, you have a phytoplankton. They do photosynthesis. They have plenty light, plenty space. However, the nutrient levels is low because they are far away from the land, from coastal area. So that's why limit their MPP. But nevertheless, they do a lot of photosynthesis, so they have abundant of dissolved oxygen because they produced. And then what is the upwelling places? So that's part is the places because of the ocean current, so the bottom of the current would go up high to the surface. Since the bottom of the ocean you have nutrient, so the upwelling brings nutrients in. So in certain areas of the open sea, winds, ocean currents, and other factors cause water to come up from the depths to the surface, bring in nutrient from the ocean bottom. So unless you are in those upwelling areas, so the euphotic zone has a low MPP. Okay. And then this one is just a repeating about the euphotic zone, and then come to a little bit of a basal zone. This part is in the middle of the ocean. The light is very dim. It's very hard for photosynthesis, but the zooplankton stay there. So at night, they migrate to go to higher to get their food. During daytime, they hide here, so they will not, hard for them to be seen, to be eaten. The abyssal zone, this one is at the bottom of the ocean, dark and cold. Review that picture. You have a sharp decrease of the temperature, okay? But this part, because near the ocean bottom, you have a lot of nutrients. However, because you don't have photosynthesis, so the dissolved oxygen level is low. You have deposit feeders, you have filter feeders. Remember, for the ocean, their net MPP is low, except in the upwelling areas. But because of the total surface area, this is the largest one, surface area. So the overall MPP of the open sea is the largest contribution to the productivity of the open. Okay. And then now we look at section 3 to see how human activities affected the marine ecosystems. And then human activities threaten biotic biodiversity, disrupt the ecosystem and economic services provided by saltwater systems. So some major items is by our coastal development, by our overfishing And then especially we use a fishing trawler, which is dragging at the bottom of the ocean. We'll know that later on more. We have runoff of a non-point source of pollution and then point source of pollution. All the pollution in the air, on the land, their final home would be the ocean. And then we cause habitat destruction in the ocean. And then we introduce invasive species into the ocean. And then we pollute the coastal wetlands and estuaries. So also this slide is full of information. You need to spend some time to memorize the activity from human being to destroy the natural capital, natural service, and also resources. Okay. And then the consequences is we cause ocean warming, cause rising ocean acidity, cause more soil erosion, cause too much algae growth from fertilizer, which is called eutrophication, and then bleaching of coral reefs, cause rising sea levels, cause increased UV exposure, and then more damage from anchors, fishing, and diving. One example about our human activity damage the aquatic system is the Chesapeake Bay. So this one is the largest estuary in America. So this one is polluted since 1960. So why is the cause? Obviously, number one is the large human population, and then caused more point and non-point source, raised pollution, and then caused more phosphate and nitrate levels. So those are the fertilizer, remember, cause eutrophication. And then also more erosion, cause excess sediment run into. So this part, all those areas contribute to pollution into the river, and then until this part meet the ocean, Chesapeake Bay. Okay. So you don't have to memorize that much, but remember, oyster is one of the keystone species. They are greatly reduced because of the water pollution and over-harvesting. So in 1983, the government and then the scientific field started to have a big research cleanup program, and then used a lot of money, 25 years and $6 billion. So we did some improvement, but overall the conclusion is this program failed to meet many of the goals set at the beginning to use those much of money. Okay, so again, this one shows you the picture of several states involved with the Chesapeake Bay pollution and then degradation. Okay, we're going to get into a little bit more of the freshwater system. So the freshwater system, this one, like the ocean water, this one also provides ecosystem and economic service. And also this one is also a irreplaceable reservoirs of biodiversity. And then for this part, we mainly look at the stagnant water and then look at the flowing water. So the standing body of water is also called lentic bodies of fresh water. So those are the lakes, that are ponds, or inland wetlands. And then the flowing is also called lotic systems of fresh water. Those are the streams, those are the rivers. Okay. And then for the lake, these are equivalent to the ocean, right? The size. You also divide them into different areas. The same idea as the ocean. So the one thing is based on the depth and the distance from the shore. So littoral zone, like the intertidal zone of ocean, near the shore where rooted plants grow, has higher biodiversity. And then you also have turtles, frogs, crayfish, and some other fish. And then limnatic zone, like the euphotic zone of ocean. They are open sunlight area, and then you can do photosynthesis. Also, you can have some large fish there. Okay, I'm going to stop here, and then thank you for watching. We have one more to come.